Today, we are looking at the Switch 2 versus the Ally X with Cyberpunk docked performance. This is purely docked. We know the Switch 2 runs at about 16 watts docked, and the Ally X I've got pumping out at 30 watts max using a 100-watt charger through the dock to capture this footage. So we'll be going through it all today. So I'm comparing the Switch 2 performance mode and quality mode. Here's the settings for all the FSR comparisons we'll be looking at on the Ally X. So it's a mixture of high, medium, and low. I've called it like a custom medium preset. So anytime you see FSR, whether that's FSR 3 or FSR with frame gen, it is using these settings. The XeSS that I'll be using will actually be using the high preset, but you've just been seeing some footage of each of them here. So you can see now we're at XeSS ultra quality, but this is actually using the high preset, not that sort of like custom medium preset that I've done on the other one. So we're going to get some side-by-sides now. So I've done a screenshot here for you just to check out, and then also this actual comparison. So feel free to go back and check out that screenshot. Now, if we sit here for a second, just look at how sharp that DLSS upscaling on the Switch 2 is versus FSR 3 with the frame gen. Look at the bottom of those like barrel things. It's all distorted and funky. FSR 3 is all blurry. XeSS is by far the best image quality we're going to get on the Ally X, but it is lower performance. Now, this is Switch 2 performance mode zoomed. Still looks good. It's holding its own. This is quality mode. Still looks really good. I'm looking at the distance here. This is 200% zoom. Now look at this. This is FSR 3 with frame gen, and man, it's looking rough. It is looking rough, but of course we will get, a boost in FPS there. This is just FSR 3 quality, no frame gen. Still a little bit rough. This is XeSS ultra quality, much, much more comparable to the DLSS on the Switch 2 just here. So now we're going to go back to back with the Switch 2 in quality mode versus XeSS. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty close in this mode, but this is running the Ally X as good as possible. High settings on Cyberpunk with XeSS ultra quality, which is only coming in just over 30 FPS, which is pretty much what the Switch 2 does in quality mode. So it's kind of matched, surprisingly. Now we're going to do the driving scene just here. And yeah, it does look good on the Ally X, considering, that. Now, this is all of them compared without the frame gen. So FSR 3 and XeSS, we're going to get higher performance with the FSR 3, you can see just here. And that's more comparable to the performance we'll see on performance mode on Switch 2, but the performance mode on Switch 2 looks far, far better. Now, Switch 2 quality mode, of course, looks the best, but that is right up there with XeSS on the Ally X. It is really hard to say which looks better in terms of image quality. I'm going to have to give it to the Switch 2 purely because of DLSS. Like, if the Ally X had DLSS, we'd be not even in the same ballpark. Now we're just comparing performance mode, quality mode, and XeSS. Obviously, this is like the worst performing on the Ally X because I'm pushing for image quality here. And I'd say it's pretty much toe-to-toe with the Switch 2 quality mode. I'm finding it very difficult to see a big difference there. I would still tend to lean towards saying that the Switch 2 quality mode looks a little bit better. But I mean, it is marginal. It's just the fact that DLSS is a more stable upscaler. We've got hardware upscaling in the Switch 2, which the Ally X unfortunately just does not have. And again, once we get RDNA 4 in the Ally 2, if we get that, then we're going to be seeing some amazing stuff. But here we've got quality mode versus XeSS on the Ally X just there. And I've put up the frame rate just so you can see it's pretty comparable. Probably a few more frames than the Switch 2 is giving, but they are both very close. Now, this run I've tried to match closely, and the upscaling looks much better on XeSS versus FSR 3. So if you're going for image quality alone on the Ally X, just choose XeSS. You only want to be using FSR 3, and FSR3 frame gen if you're wanting higher FPS. But for pure image quality, XeSS wins, but we're going to see in a second that DLSS is better. Look at the box, that brown box, and look at that barcode looking thing, how it's flickering with XeSS, whereas in the Switch 2, it's fully stable because of DLSS. I think I zoom into it in a second. There we go. So look at it there. It's much, much more stable on the Switch 2. And that is just, again, the fact that DLSS is on the Switch 2 with NVIDIA's amazing upscaling there. Again, it's comparable though, isn't it? XeSS on the Ally X, but you've got to think, we're at double the power output here. So whilst we are getting a bit of an FPS boost, and I would say on par image quality, we are double the power. Switch 2 is at around 16 watts. The Ally X is 30 watts, probably actually above that. That's just the 30 watts the mode for the APU, within Armory Crate. So it's actually probably pulling more than that docked. But yeah, here's the run now of the driving section just here with both of these modes, just so that you can really look. I recommend that you go back through and pause or really deep dive look at each comparison that I've done in this video. I didn't want this to be too long. I wanted it to be fairly short and just focusing on image quality and which could look best. And I would really say, that the Ally X holds its own against NVIDIA's DLSS, but of course it's a much more expensive, much more powerful machine. The only downside is that the Ally X does not have hardware upscaling, so there's no DLSS there. So I think personally for £400 here in the UK, not too sure what it is in America, but I think it's a really, really powerful system for such a small cost in terms of the actual physical cost, but also the amount of power. So how efficient the Switch 2 is. We do need to take into consideration that CD Projekt Red have actually, of course, specifically made this port for the Switch 2. The Ally X does not get that luxury. We are simply running a PC version using custom settings, kind of figure it out yourself, whereas the Switch 2 has had special treatment here from CD Projekt Red to make sure that, it runs as good as it can. And of course, there is downsides, there's trade-offs, but I really think it's doing well. When you think this is running 16 watts docked and 8 watts handheld, it's absolutely madness. It really, really is. Now, I would say the Switch 2 wins for me personally in terms of power draw and image quality and upscaling stability over the Ally X. I'm a big Ally X advocate. I love the Ally X, but docked, I'd say the Switch 2 wins because it gets extra power, extra sort of boost up there, and DLSS can take over. With the Ally X, of course, it's no real different playing it from handheld to docked. So in that sense, I'm going to say that the Ally X will win handheld. So we've got a video already of the Switch 2 running Cyberpunk handheld, and we're looking at that, but I have not done a comparison. But basically what you're seeing from XeSS here in this, the Ally X is going to be able to perform exactly identically in handheld mode, whereas the Switch 2 does take a knock handheld mode because we're dropping from 16 watts down to 8 watts. It's halving, right? So the image quality then comes from a lower resolution and then it looks a little bit worse. It performs a little bit worse. So the Ally X, in my opinion, works much better handheld. But of course, docked, the Ally X gets no special treatment. It doesn't get any boost clocks or anything like that. So, there we go. The Switch 2 does. So Switch 2 wins docked. Ally X wins handheld, in my opinion. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I think it holds its own, but of course you do need to consider, the Ally X is double the price of a Switch 2. But, I just wanted to do this for fun. I'm a big handheld advocate. I love both the Ally X and the Switch 2. But personally, I cannot wait until we see an Ally 2 with RDNA 4, maybe the Z3 Extremes, which is then going to bring in FSR 4. Providing that more developers actually start utilizing FSR 4, because I've got a 9070 XT and there really isn't that many games that are utilizing FSR 4 yet. So, DLSS is going to win there for now. But yeah, I am excited to see what comes from the new Xbox handheld. I'm so hyped to see the Z2 Extreme in that one. But there we have it. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts, your testing, whatever else. If you want to see more videos like this, then hit me up in the comments. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe, become a member, and you can chat to myself and AJ over on our private Discord. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.